Hello, Gavin Hoey here with another Proshow Gold tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at keyframing. Now officially Proshow Gold doesn't support keyframing, but we're not going to let a little thing like that put us off. So let's have a look at keyframing in action. Here we go, we have a slide that appears on the screen, zooms in, then it'll stay put for a few seconds, it'll zoom out and disappear off the screen. Now, to make keyframing work in Proshow Gold, you need to break the steps down because you can only make one part of the animation per slide. Now, that could be a problem, but if you take things apart slowly, it's not so bad. So what we have here is actually 5 slides that make up that animation in total. The first slide has the image sliding in from left to right. The second slide has it zooming in like so. The third slide, it's just staying put, it's not going anywhere. The fourth slide, it zooms back out again. And then the fifth slide, it slides along the screen. And that's the secret to keyframing, is breaking down the individual steps into individual slides. Okay, let's start again and put this together from scratch. So with a blank show here, we're ready to start adding in the photo. Now, to make life really simple, I'm going to keep to just a single photo on this animation. So let's bring this down and drop it onto the slide list like so. Now, most of the work is done using motion effects. So to get to the motion effects, I'm just going to click the motion tab up here, and then we can start moving things around. Well, first of all, I want to shrink this down. So it was a small sized image that then slid into the middle. So let's make the zoom, let's make it, rather than 100%, let's make it 25%. And then I'm going to slide it off to the left hand side, because this is the starting position for our animation on this slide. So I'm going to put it over there. I'm actually going to center it up by moving the vertical pan, that's the one on the right hand side of the 2 numbers, set that to 0 like so. Now this is the finishing position for this slide. So this slide wants to start on the left and finish in the center. Now at the moment it'll finish in the center, but it'll finish enormous, so we need to make sure this is the same size as the start. Now we could do that simply by just typing in the same numbers down here, but there's a little button down here that says copy. Now we're going to be using this button quite a lot, so it's a good idea to start off with it now. Let's click the copy button and we'll copy the start to the end. So in other words, it'll apply all of the numbers here on the starting position to the ending position as well. And that's fine, but I actually want it to finish in the middle, not on the edge. And I can change that simply by moving the pan position. Rather than -60, let's just set it to 0 like so. So what should happen now is if we play this through, it should slide into the middle of our image like so, and then pretty much stop. Okay, that's fine. What we want to do next is to make another slide, and on the next slide we're going to have this zooming in from here and zooming inwards, but this has to become the beginning of the next slide. And we do that by going back to the copy button once more and choosing copy end to next slide, open brackets, all layers, close brackets. Now if you look at the slide list, you'll notice there is no next slide, we only have one slide. But if we click on the copy end to next slide, it'll make one for us. And even though on my motion effects it says I'm on slide 1 of 1, I now have 2. Yeah, that may be a little bug in the program there, but never mind. Let's just click the little forward arrow, and mysteriously we can now go to 2 of 2. See, it does work. Now this slide has got to be the zooming in slide, so the starting position will be untouched. We're not going to touch the start, but we are going to touch the end. And we're just going to zoom it in like so. How big? I don't know. Let's see, about mid-80s, something like that. There you go, that looks about right. Perfect. And we'll click done. Let's just play that through, make sure that's working. We'll go back to the start, click the play button. We can see it zooms across the screen, and then we have this kind of blurry fade between the two. Now here's the other secret of making keyframing work in Proshow Gold. It's down here where we have the transition. Now the standard transition that Proshow Gold will give you is a 3-second A-B fade. If you want to make this keyframing work, you have to get rid of the 3 seconds and change it to 0 seconds. So there's no gap between one slide stopping and the next one starting. So let's just play that again, and this time it should slide in, and then it should sort of come in nicely like so. Now On your screen that might be a little bit jerky, but trust me, on my screen that's running silky smooth. It's just the video doesn't really record as well as you'd see it on your screen. Right, okay, so let's add a couple more slides in. We'll make sure we're working on the currently last slide of the bunch. We'll click our motion tab again, and we'll go back to that little copy button, and we'll copy the end to the next slide. And although again it says we're on 2 of 2, we can move forward to 3 of 3. Now the next slide starts here big, and I'd like it to stay big for a few seconds. So we have a few seconds on screen of this large image so you could admire it or something like that. So the next button we need to go back to is copy again, copy end to next slide, and again remember to move forward to slide 4 of 4. Now this slide has to be the zooming out effect, so it starts big and then it zooms out. So this time, rather than zooming in, I'm going to move that slider back down to 25%. Getting it absolutely right is very difficult, so we're actually going to type it in for accuracy. Okay, back to the copy end to new slide, because the last one, and move forward of course, I nearly forgot that. The last slide is going to be this slide here that is now shrunk, sliding off to the right hand side. So we just need to drag the end position over to the right hand side, like so. Now again, for accuracy, I'll make sure I keep the pan at 0 for the vertical pan, and what was it, about 60 odd last time, so we'll put in 60 again. And then click done. Now back on your main slide list, you need to make sure you've got all of these fades set to 0, otherwise you're going to get that blurring effect between the two. But other than that, that should now be the whole keyframing effect complete. Let's just play it through and see if it works. So the slide comes in, zooms in, and then it holds it for 3 seconds, zooms back out again, before neatly sliding off to the right hand side. Okay, so there you go. There's keyframing inside of Proshow Gold, simply by breaking down any movement you want to make into simple steps and then making one slide do each step. You can find you can do almost any animation that you can dream of.